Alrighty, now step 5 of generating a salesperson class. Now we can use the Angular CLI to generate a class. So we could say ng generate class and you give a reference to the class. This will create a very basic TypeScript class. Now there's no requirement to use this. You could actually manually create the class yourself, but here I'm simply going to use the CLI just to kind of help us out. Now this class that it creates though, it's a very basic file. There's nothing here, but we can actually enhance it by adding some of our own code here. So I'll create my own constructor and I'll make use of parameter properties here. So the parameter properties are first name, last name, email, and sales volume. Now I know these are parameter properties because they're declared by prefixing the constructor argument with an access modifier. So the access modifiers you can use is public, protected, private, or read-only. So the key here is that if you have a constructor with arguments and you prefix it with these items, then it's automatically a parameter property. Now remember, with parameter properties, it actually declares the properties and assigns the properties automatically. It minimizes the boilerplate coding that you'd have to do for setting up a constructor. So in the bottom left, here's the UML for the salesperson. So we have these 4 properties here: first name, last name, email, and sales volume. Okay, so now about these public properties. I know when you saw that code with the constructor and I had these parameter properties and I used public, and you probably said, oh my gosh, no way. Alrighty, so in the Angular world, public properties are very common. So you'll see the Angular developers using public properties in their code. So this is a different approach than what Java developers are used to. In the Java world, we primarily use private fields and have public getter-setter methods to promote encapsulation. However, in the Angular world, most Angular developers simply use public properties and they skip on the getter-setter methods or accessors. So you'll actually see this type of coding in the official Angular documentation and tutorials. Also, you'll see this coding in blog articles and on real-time projects. So don't worry about this too much. Feel free to use public properties in your Angular coding. Okay, I had to get that out of the way. Now moving ahead to step 6, in our salesperson list component, we need to create some sample data. All right, so here in my code, I'm going to import our new class salesperson, and then I'll create an array of objects. So I have salesperson list of salesperson with square brackets denotes an array equals, and then inside of this array, I simply create X number of salesperson objects here. So here I have entries for Anoop Kumar, John Doe, Clara Murphy, and May Trong. And then finally, to kind of wrap this all together in step 7, in our salesperson list template file, we're going to build the HTML table by looping over the data. Alrighty, so we'll go ahead and create a very basic HTML table. I'll set up the T-head section with our columns for first name, last name, email, and sales volume. And so now I'll move down to the table body. I'll make use of TR, and then I'll use a star ng4. So this is a special Angular directive that will loop over the array, and it'll create a table row for each array element. So here I have star ng4 equals let temp salesperson of salesperson list. So this will actually access the property defined in the component. So this is the exact name of the property, salesperson list. It matches up and will simply loop over that array. And so for each element in the array, we'll have this table row, and then we use table data to access the actual internals there for that given object. So I use the curly brace, temp salesperson dot first name, and then I repeat the process for dot last name, dot email, and dot sales volume. So this will give me the HTML table populated with data from the property. Alrighty, this looks great. So let's go ahead and move into our IDE and let's write the code.